Are you live?
Yes.
Can you hear anything?
Hello. We are live and
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Is there anybody here? No.
Not yet, but people are going to start showing up. They're going to get notifications.
I always look like I need to put my makeup on or something.
Next time I'll put some makeup on you.
The light changed.
So we're gonna Natalia. Hi, Natalia.
Does she speak Russian?
Yes.
Привет, Natalia. Как дела?
So in this live, we are going to talk about how to talk to your man so he will listen. This is a good one. It's funny because I deal with this, and I've taken like hundreds of hours of training. Allison Armstrong, NLP, like all kinds of different stuff and then I talk to Rick all the time about, how to talk to him so he will listen. And I still struggle with this all the time. So I thought this is a really good topic because I feel like communication is that one thing that, in a marriage is the number one breakdown that we have. I think like 8 out of 10 women say that they have broken communication in their marriage. So everything comes down to communication. The day-to-day chores, our getting on the same page about parenting, about money, like about everything, all comes down to communication. And, the biggest complaint when I talk to women that they have about the communication breakdown that they have with their man is they feel like they're not being heard, not being seen, understood, and so on. Or a lot of times women feel like a man just, either withdraws from the communication and kind of goes and does his own thing and doesn't listen, or they just are annoyed and, or they're not effective. Like they're just doing their thing when a woman talks. So I really want to kind of shine some light on how to effectively talk to your man. That's why I brought Rick on because, I can tell you all day long from what I've learned and, my perspectives, but I wanted him to really speak from a man's perspective. And I'm going to ask him some questions that I get asked all the time. And I'm going to ask him, those questions. So yeah, you guys ready? Let's see who's here.
So I'm going to say something real
yeah.
quick. Like it's 12:03, so we're going to get started right now. I'm going to make this Facebook Live a lot shorter than the last one. The last one I think was like 45 minutes or something like that.
Questions that I get asked.
So there's a couple of things that are there by default in a conversation, right? Like even now, as I'm like on this and I'm doing this with Yana, like my intention is really to make a difference and to support you in being a resource for you to be able to have a powerful conversation with not just your husband, but with anybody really. In this case though, the intention is really helping you to have or engage in a level of communication that is powerful and that actually yields results for you. So when I'm able to say that, all of the other stuff that's here for me, which is like, do I look good? Is the lighting good? Because I'm a TV and film and digital guy. Like all of that stuff is in my head and I want to get it right. Or, there's this whole slew of like default operating sort of like human behavior stuff, like automaton stuff in the background. But really my intention is to make a difference. So even my just saying that creates a space for that to occur. Right, so we'll get back to setting an intention, but it's important for me to say so I can be here with all of you. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. And funny story that totally relates to communicating with your man. So yesterday I started writing out an outline, for the Facebook Live. And I wrote it out and I emailed it to Rick so you can kind of look it over. And he started writing, filling it in. And I went on my computer and I started writing something else. And then,
Like
last
not
minute.
what she said.
No, not like
she
what I said.
Like not the plan.
No. And like 15 minutes before, I was like, look, I was thinking maybe I can ask these questions and yada, yada. And like, this would be great. And he looks at me like, woman, are you crazy? Like you sent me the plan yesterday. Why aren't you following the plan? Why are you creating a new plan? So I laughed about it because I'm like, it's perfect that we're going to be talking to you about, communication, because one of the great distinctions and the way, I think, difference between men and women, and I'm not saying, like, just let me back up. I'm not saying that all women are like this and all men are like this, but like, if you, just through the research and all of the things that I've learned, if you put it, in the middle and kind of to generalize, a lot of, what I'm going to be speaking into is what a lot of men are like and what a lot of women are like. So back to the plan. So one of the kind of differences that, I want to share with you from this story is men like to follow a plan. Men have a plan. And we women, our plan includes so many more things. So, I don't know, for me, like my mind goes all over the place and I pick up different ideas as I'm like working through the plan, and I just will throw those ideas in. So just to give you like a simple example, if we're going on a trip, his plan to go on a trip is like get in the car, like pack our bags, get in the car, go on the trip, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the plan. For me, going on a trip is like, okay, we're going to go on a trip. I have to pack the bags. That means I'm also going to do the laundry. I'm going to fold the laundry. I'm going to make sure that the bed is made. I have to make sure all the dishes are, cleaned, and do 100 other things, that just come up along the way. And when that happens, I know like it drives you crazy. And, in my head, I think I'm following the plan. And what happens for you when we're trying to leave and you have this plan?
Well,
and
it's because she'll be the one that brings up like what time we have to get there or what has to happen or what the plan is. Like you will
mm-hmm.
initiate what the plan is,
yeah.
right? Or we'll agree to it. Even if you don't initiate, we'll agree to, oh, okay, we got to be there by this time or whatever. And so that means we go, okay, well, that means we have to leave by this time. So what will happen inevitably is you'll be doing a whole bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with achieving our goal
mm-hmm.
of fulfilling on the plan, which is leaving by a certain time or doing a certain thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's all that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like right now, for example, she said, I don't want to do another long Facebook Live. So let's make sure that we keep it short and we'll just keep to what it is that we said we're going to do and deliver on these things. And so now it's almost 12:10
mm-hmm.
and we still haven't started on what you said we were going to do. Right?
Okay. So that will, yes, you're right.
So I'm going to remind you to be here.
Okay.
Be present.
Thank you.
Let's be for them.
Okay. Awesome. But
Hey,
what,
Heather.
So here, hi, Heather. But actually transitions perfectly into what I also, so I'm going to share some distinctions with you, and then I'm going to ask Rick, a question about how to, deal with it from a man's perspective. So the first distinction, and this is perfect from the plan conversation, is that men are single focused and women are not. Men can only focus on one thing at a time, not because they're dumb or anything, but just because that's how their brain processes. So, I want to ask you, because I struggle with this all the time. Like I can be having a conversation while I'm making dinner, while, I'm cleaning and doing 100 other things, and I can be having a conversation with you. And I realized that for you, that does not work. So how do I talk to a man that is single focused?
That's it's a loaded question because there's a lot to unpack in that, right? So I'm going to say a couple of things. First thing I'm going to say is that this is, everything that we're going to say isn't the truth. And like there's, if you consider, so you got like the pool of men, right? Like here's where everybody is, like from the top to the bottom. Here's all the men, right? In that area. So the majority of the men are going to land inside of this circle, and then you're going to have your outliers that are people that are outside that circle, right? So I'm really talking about the people that are inside that circle.
And women too.
And women too,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not talking about the outliers. You're always going to have outliers, but they're not going to make up, for the purpose of generalizing and being able to hit, a bigger target. They're not really going to fall within this, the concepts that we're going to be discussing. So take everything that we're saying with a grain and know that it isn't the truth. So how do you talk to a single focused man? You've got to make sure that you have his focus, I would say, is the first thing. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot to unpack. So I don't know how far you want me to go into that conversation. So if you really want to talk to him about something, then you've got to make sure that you understand that, maybe when he's doing something, it's not the best time, right? Because you want a specific result produced. So it's important for you to understand what your intention is right from the get-go. So why are you communicating in the first place? Or if you say that in another way, what is the purpose of your communication? So like at night, when you guys are ready to go to bed and the kids are finally asleep and the day job is over and the housework and all the other things that had to be done, either got done or they're left for tomorrow. What's the purpose of communication at that time? Right? So it's important to distinguish this so that you can be clear of your own goal, because you have something you want to fulfill on. Whether you're conscious of it or not, there is something you want to fulfill on. So maybe at night, the reason why you're talking is because you were so busy throughout the day, you didn't get to talk. And so now you want to unpack everything and say, these are all the things I wanted to say, or I want to connect, or I want you to be in my world, or whatever it is, right? Or this thing didn't get done that I wanted you to do. So you have to be really clear about your intention. That would be the very first thing I would say. Understand why you're communicating.
Okay. And then what about how do I get you to listen to me whenever I am communicating my intention? Let's just say I set it up, figure it out.
Great, that's a good question. So after you understand why you're communicating or what prompts your intention, you have to get the why behind that. So why the intention, right? So let's say your intention is
to talk to you about, the house chores that we need to do.
Great. That's not a hard one to take on. So let's talk about the house chores. So do you need him to do something that isn't currently being done?
Yes.
Okay, great. The house chores.
Yeah.
Right? So is there a complaint behind that he hasn't done these house chores? Is there something wrong? Is it like the fact that the house chores aren't being done by him? Is it like this shouldn't be? It should be another way. So he should be doing house chores, right? Like that kind of dynamic, right? So then you have to get that your why for having the conversation about the house chores is being prompted by a complaint that you currently have, that the house chores aren't being done by him and that they should be done another way.
Okay.
Right? Like it shouldn't just be you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I agree, and I think we can all agree that a house is a communal space and it should be maintained by the community, right? So I totally get that. And then we all divide, the labor and we figure out how to get that done in a way where it works for everybody, right? So we can get that. We can get on that page, right? So what you have to get, though, is that what's prompting your intention to have a conversation about house chores isn't just this communal idea of how do we make it work for all of us. It shouldn't be this way. And I have a complaint that he's not helping, right?
Yeah.
So then he already knows that you have a complaint about that. Okay. And he is, the moment you start talking about house chores or whatever that needs to get done, he's going to feel like he's being made wrong because your complaint is about him not doing something.
Yes.
Right? So like the default listening that he has for that conversation is that.
Okay.
So that's called context, right? So
how do I talk to him? How do I talk to you? How do they talk to their husbands? Like if I want you to do something in the house, but I know you don't want to do it, and I want you to want to do it.
Well,
And I don't want to nag about it.
well, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So we're like deviating a little bit. So this
Yeah.
is going to be a really long Facebook
No,
Live.
no,
if we
let's do
deviate,
it. No,
okay?
I don't want to do it.
So I'm just going to answer that real quick. You want him to want to, but he doesn't want to, and there's no way you're going to get him to want to.
Okay.
Like you don't want to cook all the time.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to wash the dishes or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to work all day long, or I don't want to whatever, right? So we do what we do, and it's independent of whether or not we want to or feel like it.
Mhm.
Like we do it because we agree to do it, because it serves this greater purpose that we can both agree on,
Yes.
right? So you can't get him to want to.
Mhm.
What you can get to is you can get him to agree to that greater purpose, like that thing that's bigger than the both of you, right? And then once you establish that context, right, instead of the context being the complaint
Mhm.
that this is not the way it should be, the context shifts to this is what we could have, and this is what I'd like to create with you.
Mhm.
But first, you have to be responsible for the complaint part. First, you have to be willing to say, I have been complaining.
Yeah.
And I've been making you wrong.
And that's the hardest part.
For sure, it's the hardest part. Because this is really what it takes, right? So here's your access to having a conversation with a man about a complaint that you have.
Mhm.
Is you have to be willing to identify that you've been having a complaint.
Okay.
And once you identify the complaint, then you can take responsibility for the complaint.
Why do you have to identify the complaint? Why do you have to tell him that?
Because you want him to listen.
Okay, so
This whole thing is about
defensive.
this whole thing is about listening, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a complaint about you,
Mhm.
right? Like if I have an ongoing complaint about you, and then I say, like, let's say you leave the bathroom dirty all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that I complain about you leaving the bathroom dirty all the time,
Mhm.
right? And then one day I say to you, hey, I want to talk to you about the bathroom.
Mhm. So you set up the intention.
But so, like, even if just the moment I said, hey, I want to talk to you about the bathroom,
Mhm.
in your head, you're like, oh shit, he's going to talk to me about this thing that he's been complaining about,
Yeah, I get that.
right? So how do you get her to listen? I want you to know something. I totally get I've been making you wrong about leaving the bathroom dirty.
Mhm.
Like I get you got a million makeup things and face things and whatever, and then I make you wrong because I look at it and it drives me crazy to see it messy.
Mhm.
And it's really not that big of a deal, right? Like, is it going to matter in 100 years from now that the bathroom was dirty today or yesterday or whatever?
Yeah.
Right? It's not.
Yeah.
And it gets in the way of our relationship, right? Like it creates a separation between us. There's a disconnect. I get upset. You kind of get upset. We have that little bickering going on, right? Like that
Mhm.
dynamic. It doesn't really work for us,
Mhm.
right? And I get I'm responsible when I make you wrong for that.
Mhm.
Like I get that.
Yeah.
I get that I'm responsible when I make you wrong. And the impact on you is like I don't even want to talk. Like I don't want to hear this. I don't want to anything,
Mhm.
right? Like you want to talk to me about cleaning the bathroom? I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I got to do something else, right? So you've got to own it, because owning it is going to give you access to being able to have a conversation, because then he's going to be willing to listen.
Yeah, and not get defensive.
And that's the key.
Mhm.
You got to take that part out of the equation, and then he's going to be willing.
I love that.
And if that's still in the equation, forget it. He's not going to listen.
Like if you're blaming him and you're making him wrong and all of that stuff, he is not going to listen. He's just going to get defensive, most likely. And he's going to, withdraw probably and be like, whatever. Because she's always complaining.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
And-
that's anybody, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're all like that.
Yeah.
And she's not always, and I'm not saying that ladies that you always complain or anything like that. I'm just saying if the context, if the why, what's behind your intention is that there's a complaint, then that's something to be responsible for.
yeah.
If it's because you want to feel like you're connected, right? And you don't feel like there's a connection, then, I'm not saying it's the truth, but what I'm saying is it's possible you have a complaint that we're not connected, right? And so how you take responsibility for that complaint is going to make all the difference in the world to get him to actually hear whatever you have to say.
For sure.
Because then at that point, it's not going to be about the complaint. It's going to be about what's bigger than the complaint.
Yeah. And just what there is to manage and what there is to kind of work out together as
Right.
partners.
Right.
Mhm.
Because if the conversation is about like what you want to feel connected to me,
Yeah.
right, and you want me to be in your world about stuff,
Mhm.
and you want to get into my world about stuff, and you want to have that go on in
Yeah.
a relationship, then it becomes about that, and it's not about the fact that like I don't feel connected.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, this is a good transition into the next distinction of the difference of how men and women communicate, because this is a huge one. When I got this, I was like, oh my God, it's a game changer. And what I realized, and I learned this from Alison Armstrong, I shared about her a million times because I love her work. But she talks about how women, we relate to everything as the center of the universe. And what I mean by that is, or what she means, and it's totally, I think in many ways it's true, is when we communicate, we want to relate to, the communication of like, how does it relate to me? Think about it. Even when I hear this all the time when women speak and, their man does something that they don't like, they use the words like, well, I wouldn't do that. Or, when we speak with women, we're always relating to them like, oh yeah, I remember, like if she's sharing something with you, or even if a man is sharing something with you, you're always, listening for like, how does this relate to me? Oh yeah, I had that experience. Oh yeah, like I did this too. So that's how we speak. We speak to connect and to relate, like to make it, to fit it into our world. Okay, most of us. Men don't speak like that. Men speak to take actions. They're very action oriented. And that's how they listen. They're listening for what is the point of this communication, most men. So there's a big breakdown that happens because when we're talking to the man and we're just talking to connect and we're sharing with him and we're talking to him. It happened to us this morning where I was just like, blah, 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 just talking about random stuff to connect with him. And, he was like, what's the point? Like he was washing dishes. And after, 15 minutes of me talking, he was like, can I just wash the dishes? Because he was trying to focus on washing the dishes. And he couldn't give me the attention, to talk. And when he got that, the communication was just rambling about whatever, he was like, we need to stop because it's just noise and I'm not listening to you. So, so I guess my question is, what if, all I want to do, because I know a lot of women, we just want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to be understood. And by default, we are in our own world. How do I talk to you so I can be heard, understood, and seen?
Well, so a couple of things I want to say. I wanted to make a quick little analogy of what you just said right now about like the washing the dishes when you were talking.
Yeah.
So have you ever been driving and you're looking for like the place that you're looking for because you've never been there before? And you've got the radio going on and you're driving, right? And then like you turn down the radio to find what you're looking for, right? So it speaks to the idea of single focus, right? So we don't need our ears to use our eyes and find whatever it is that we're looking for, right? But we do need our mind, right? We need the attention of our mind to yield that result or help us yield that result. So it's that kind of thing for guys. So men are, it's true what you said about that. Men are very single focused. So when you set up the communication before you have a conversation, right, we know that we're going to have a conversation, right? And if you've owned at this point the context for that conversation, right? So what's framing the conversation? So if you've, now gotten a chance to say, listen, I know that I've been making you wrong and these are the ways that it impacted you and you get all of that, right? Then you can talk about what there is that you want to talk about, right? Because your intention then can be heard.
Yeah. My
intention is for X. Right? So he needs to be in the mindset of listening to you or of having a conversation. And that's really it. There's nothing more than that, right? So if he just, I can tell you some things, right? And maybe, like I said, here's the part where there's so many men that are going to be outliers, but most are going to be in the middle. So if he just came home from work, he doesn't want to talk. For sure, he doesn't want to talk. He needs a little bit of downtime. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, but he needs that transition time for sure when he comes home from work, okay? Don't have a conversation at that time, he's not going to hear it. I guarantee. For the most part, that's the deal for men. So if he's ready to go to bed, he doesn't want to talk, right? Because he's ready to go to bed, right? So he's ready to, his mindset is, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to rest, and we're not going to talk about 100 things right now. We're just going to go to sleep, right? That's where he is.
And at the time, women, we mostly want to talk.
If he's watching TV, yeah, for sure. If he's watching TV, he doesn't want to talk, right? If he's gonna eat, right, then maybe you've got a shot there, right? Because he's eating. I mean, all he's got to do is that. So there's a good chance, right? But the point is, you've got to set that part up in partnership with him. You've got to ask him, hey, what works for you? Like, when can we have a conversation about something?
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing wrong, and you got to let him know right from then. There's nothing wrong. I just want to have a conversation with you, and I don't want to do it when you just come home from work or when you're ready to go to sleep or whatever it is.
Okay.
Right. And he might already be like, his context might already be like, oh God, dude, she's gonna just talk at me again. Right. So be patient with him as you sort of engage in this new mode of communication. Like, it's gonna take him a little bit to get that there is nothing wrong inherently, and that what you want to talk about is just what you want to talk about.
And then I think, yeah, but I think like also setting it up and letting him know that, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong. There's no problem to fix. I just want to talk to you and share with you about my day. I think that's very effective when you set it up. So he's not trying to think about the actions he needs to take.
Yeah, well, yeah, I talked about that, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned that you have to say something about that there isn't anything wrong to make it safe for him.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things you ladies have got to get, I think, about this, or at least this is true in my experience with you, and I've heard a lot of women complain about something like this. Excuse me. His default, right? Listening of you. So the way he listens to you by default is that you're already talking about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're going to tell him, what I want to talk to you about is I just want to be gotten,
Yeah.
right? Like, he's going to be like, again?
Mm-hmm. So how do women feel heard and understood? You know, if that's what they need to do by default.
Well, like I said, you've got to address what's in the way first.
Mm-hmm.
So what's in the way first is that you make him wrong for not getting you, not being in your world, not
Mm-hmm.
understanding you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got to clean that part up.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to. Your access is going to be in cleaning up what your complaint is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 100 out of 100 times. So if you complain that I'm not in your world and I don't listen to you, and then you have you come to me and you say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about getting into my world
Mm-hmm.
and just connecting with me, right? I already know you've been complaining about that, and I'm not going to want to have that conversation
Mm-hmm.
because I'm already wrong, and I know I'm wrong. Even if that part hasn't been explicit, right? It's implicit,
Yeah.
right? It's implied, right? So I'm not going to want to do that. So you are going to have a conversation with me where you own it, right? Like, you're going to have to say, look, I want to talk to you about something. And I know that, you know, like, for you, I've been making you wrong for not listening to me and not being in my world about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, you know, I want to own that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could own that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything about you.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you own that, now he's willing to listen
Okay.
about anything.
Yeah.
And it's true for everybody, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, by owning it, the statements I can say are, I have been doing it. Like, instead of pointing the finger, you haven't been listening, I say, I feel like I have, you know, that I've been talking at you, like basically taking full responsibility for how I've been communicating to you.
Well, taking full responsibility for the complaint.
For the complaint, yeah.
Right. Like, that's what you're
Mhm.
taking responsibility for.
Yeah,
That's the part.
got it.
So what are you pretending? What are you not communicating? What are you hiding? What is
Mhm.
not there as it relates to the complaint that you have
Mhm.
about what shouldn't be? What shouldn't be is he's not helping with the house, or what shouldn't be is he's not really listening or getting me, or what shouldn't be is somebody wrote something about the AC. He didn't do what he said he was going to do,
Mhm.
right? And he didn't research about the AC part, and that needed to get done, and it's hot, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, whatever it is that shouldn't be, you
Yeah.
guys, for all of us, right, owning our complaints,
Mhm.
right, and getting the impact on the other person is absolutely critical to get someone to listen.
Yeah.
And to get a man to listen is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions?
No, I mean, I think the other question, but I feel like it's kind of similar to what we've been talking about, is just getting on the same page about things. I think that's something that a lot of women struggle with. Like, how do we just get on the same page and, talk about this stuff and have it be consistent? Because that's something that is a big missing.
I get that. And we identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
There are really, so, like your life can get broken down into, some pretty big categories. Now within those categories, there's going to be like subcategories, but for the purpose of the conversation, we can just break them down into big categories, right? Mm-hmm. So you have like health and well-being, you have finances, you have career, you have, right? Like there's some like, obviously the family and the mm-hmm. kids, there's your own relationship, right?
Yeah.
So you've got like these buckets, right? These categories that make up your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so to create a page, mm-hmm. right, inside of one of these buckets,
yeah.
right, you've got to be willing to communicate what your complaint has been for that page.
Okay.
Right. So if the complaint has been, the finances aren't being managed, or we're not saving enough, or if it has anything to do with money, right? Like you've got to be willing to communicate your complaint and what the impact is on him of that complaint.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, I think that just communicating the complaint by complaining more is not going to be effective.
Oh, no.
No, because I just want to clarify that.
No, yeah.
If I'm just telling you my complaint, you're going to check out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The communicating the complaint is like, I have been, complaining about this, or I have been worried about this, or I've been afraid, of our financial situation. And like, basically, whatever your complaint is about that area. Like I've been, really frustrated that the house has been out of order. And then, when I'm frustrated and I'm not communicating to you, I see like we're disconnected. Like that's what he talks about, the impact, like that we are disconnected, that we're not talking about it, and we are, the house is still out of order. So I'm here to talk to you about it because I'm really committed to, like, I really want to make sure that we're on the same page about, our money or the house being in order, because that's important to me. And I know it's important for our family.
Right.
So,
and that's really great. And so you're right on the money in terms of like not having the communication be more of a complaint.
Yeah.
It's really kind of getting that what you really want is, you want financial stability
mm-hmm.
or security.
Yeah.
What you really want is you want your home to be in harmony,
mm-hmm.
right? Or whatever it is. What you really want is to like really like have a great, sexy, passionate relationship,
yeah.
right? Or whatever it is for you, right? Like these are the things you really want. So understanding your intention and being really clear about the intention
is the most
and
important.
Fulfilling on that intention is really what you're about.
Yeah.
It's not about your complaints. It's not about your ego. It's not about the things that you point to and you say that these are the reasons why I can't have what I really want in my
mm-hmm.
life. So if you want to get on the same page, you've got to be willing to get that you have also not been on that page.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he will get it. And it will actually create a space for him to be vulnerable and actually say something about who he's been
mm-hmm.
in that respect, right? Because it opens that opportunity up to be able to engage in that dialogue,
yeah.
right? And so I know that for a lot of women, they're like, wait a minute, he are you kidding me? I do everything. He needs to pick up a brush or a broom, or he's got to do something, or grab a dish, or do something. Like I do all the everything,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
So I get that. I do get it. And if you ask 7 billion people on the planet, you'd be right? But that's the way it should be. It should be 50-50, and it's not. There's inequality, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You could ask 7 billion people, and you could take that all the way to the grave. And I don't mean to be insensitive, because I don't. I got that the last time I was insensitive in some of my communication. I don't mean to be that way. And I want to be helpful. And so some of this requires rigor. And I don't mean to say insensitivity, but it does require rigor. So really getting that you're right about that it shouldn't be won't make a difference. And that really is the bottom line. Getting that you are right about that it shouldn't be, whatever it is, will not make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you really want is to have a difference be made in an area of your life that really matters. And it takes raising your hand and saying, I got it. This is my hand in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like I get the impact on you. This is my hand in that. Here's where I want to go. I want to go there with you. Let's go together.
Yeah.
Because that's really what this is about. So let's wipe a clean slate. Let's just own everything. And then let's move forward.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's what we really want. And that's what he wants. He doesn't not want that. He wants that.
That's what getting on the same page is.
Totally.
And that's how he will listen. It's
Totally.
like when you come from a place of how do we come together in this commitment, and just owning that you haven't been, coming together, that you've been coming from a place of like make wrong, which
Right.
There's nothing wrong with this. Okay. I don't want us to be like, oh, I don't do that. Like I do that all the time.
I do it too.
I mean, we all do it. That's just like human nature, being in a
Mhm.
relationship. It's just normal. But when we talk about it and we're able to just not, feel bad about it, but just to communicate it and, ask even for forgiveness, or forgive him also for not cleaning, for not doing whatever you need him to do. And kind of like what he was saying, clean it up, like just create a blank slate and then get what your intention is. That's where the magic happens.
Totally.
And that's where you get on the same page.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And
yeah.
it could be something as simple as say, where are we going to go and what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Right? And you can be like, I always make you wrong for not coming up with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd love it if you came up with the idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because I want you to be romantic, and that's what I think romance is, and you don't do it, and so I have this complaint, and I got it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, I just would love that, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you could pick the place, or you can be like, hey, do you think you could pick it the next time we go out?
Mm-hmm.
And then you create, by the way, so the last thing I'm going to say, then you have to create a structure to hold you guys accountable for what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
Right? So here's the next part. So we've talked about how to get him to listen. So how do you guys stay on track once you get on the same page on something? You've got to set up a structure that holds each other accountable for doing it.
Yeah.
And not in a way where you're wrong if you didn't do it. So let's say you go, okay, well, I'm going to wash the dishes Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and whatever. And you're going to wash them Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. And then maybe Sunday we just use paper cups or whatever. I'm not saying that that's the deal. So then, Monday you wash the dishes, and then Tuesday he doesn't wash the dishes. Right? And now you're like, dude, we just started this new page that we got on, and I own the whole thing, and he's not doing the whole thing again, right? Like, you got to do the whole thing all over again. Hey, I'm like totally judging you for not doing what you said you were going to do. We just started this new page, and you're not doing what you said you were going to do, right? Like, it doesn't work. Yeah. I'm not trying to force you to do dishes, but you got that this is what it takes to create workability in our relationship. So when are you going to do the dishes?
Yeah. What do you need also?
Yeah.
To remind you?
Right.
Do you need to set a reminder in your phone to do the dishes?
Do you need to put it in your calendar?
Yeah.
So creating a structure to hold you accountable is going to be key. And then to lovingly and powerfully and rigorously hold each other accountable is another key. And it takes something to do that, right? And so these are all things that have to be learned. It's that there's no here is the way you guys are going to hit the ground running. You have to learn how to do that. And I'll be happy to share more with you about how to create structures for accountability and hold each other accountable in a powerful and loving way. Mm-hmm. But that's another conversation.
Yeah. And what came to me right now is, really quickly, because it's 38 minutes now, but really quickly, because I think a lot of women, we relate to our husbands as like this adversary relationship. And as long as we relate to them like that, he's over there and I'm over here, that's the relationship you're going to have. Okay. So what I invite you to do is to create a partnership for yourself, not, because of what he's doing or how he's not showing up or whatever, but just because that's what you want in your life and that's what you want to teach your kids. And that's what, you want to kind of break the cycle. I know I do. I want to break the cycle because I didn't see partnership growing up, and I don't see it, with most women, but I want to learn how to have a partnership So the reason, I'm doing this work, I've been doing this work on myself and my relationship for years, and also keep doing it. And then I want to teach it to other women, is because I'm like, wait a second, there is a way to come from partnership, rather than like you versus me.
Sure.
So if my intention is to come from partnership, in my communications, the question that I'm going to keep asking myself in every communication is, am I coming from partnership right now, or am I doing a you versus me, thing? So just think about it. Like, where are you coming from when you're talking to him? Are you coming from like blaming and like pointing the finger, what he's not doing, how he's not showing up, and yada yada? Or are you coming from a place because of, you being committed to having a partnership and, a marriage that is beautiful, and a marriage that works, and, a marriage that has really great communication? So that's kind of the last thing that I want to say. Another thing, actually, I want to invite you guys, if you're in San Diego, I know, I keep talking, but I just want to invite you guys, if you are in San Diego and you're free this Saturday, Rick and I are hosting a really awesome event at Eclipse Chocolate Bar.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in South Park. And we're going to have, a really awesome conversation. We're going to have some drinks, some really yummy chocolates. And, we're bringing like-minded couples together. We're going to also guide you in a lot of exercises. But the biggest one is that you create your why for your marriage, like a really strong foundation for your marriage, that, or basically an intention for your marriage. Because usually we go into marriage not having an intention, really. So we're going to all create that together. So I would love to see you and hang out with you in person. I posted the link in the Facebook group. So, you can still get tickets. If you guys have any questions, just message me. And that's it. And if you have any other questions about this live, you can always post them in the group, in the thread, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. It's been awesome hanging out with you. And you hanging out with us in our living room. So yeah, totally. We'll see you guys next week. Okay. Or I'll see you next week. I don't know if Rick will come.